Hi, and welcome to As for Science. And did you know that the Earth takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds to rotate on itself? However, it is evident that a day lasts 24 hours. But then, how is it possible that a day lasts 24 hours, but that the Earth takes less time to rotate on itself? This is something that we live with daily, but that we're barely aware of. If each day the Earth rotates faster than a day lasts, then day after day it would accumulate a greater and greater mismatch. The sun would rise earlier each day to such an extent that the clocks would mark 12 in the morning, but it really would be midnight. But this does not happen. Why? Imagine that you are at a point on the Earth exactly at 12 noon, in such a way that the sunlight reaches perpendicularly to the surface of the Earth where you are. Now let's say a day goes by. You would still be at the same point on the Earth, but 4 minutes will have passed since the planet finished rotating. However, and here's the crux of the matter, the Earth will have traveled the exact stretch of its orbit around the Sun, so that the angle in which the light hits your head is exactly the same as the day before. That is, be 12 o'clock astronomically and civilly speaking. And if you wonder why it is so exact, it is because when the day was defined, it was not taken into account how long it took for the Earth to turn around on itself, but the time it took for the Sun to return to the highest point of the horizon, ignoring all this data. There's another way to understand it. Now imagine that the Earth orbits around the Sun without rotating. If this happened, the Earth would appear static, so if the solar system were a clock, the same continent would always be pointing at the same time. This would mean that instead of having 365 days, there would only be one, given that the shadow projected by the Earth would vary very little by little, since this variation would be caused by the position of the Earth with respect to the Sun. Because of this effect, actually in a year, there is one more day without us realizing it, because this extra day is the one that comes out of adding the minutes that we lack each day. If we take into account that each day there are 4 minutes left to reach 24 hours, and these 4 minutes are multiplied by 365 days that a year has, we obtain the minutes that we're missing in an entire year. If we divide them by 60, we get the remaining hours. 24, exactly one day, which is the one that we had left over due to the movement of the Earth's rotation. Now everything fits. There are people who think that it is because of this that leap years exist. However, it has nothing to do. The explanation of why every 4 years we have a February 29th, it's due to a much easier reason. Simply, the Earth does not take 365 exact days to go around the Sun, but it takes 365.25. If we multiply 0.25 by 4, we get 1. Therefore, every 4 years we have one more day in our calendar. However, 3 times throughout the history, and only in certain countries, the month of February has not ended on 28 or 29, but it has ended on February 30th. Yes, there has been February 30th. In 1929, the Soviet Union created a revolutionary calendar in which every month had 30 days, and the 5 or 6 days left over at the end of the year were holidays. For this reason, in 1930 and 1931, there were 2 February months that had 30 days. Also, the Kingdom of Sweden in 1712 had 2 leap days in the same year, when this country made the transition from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. This is why it had days left over. But it hasn't always been that way. Recently, and only thanks to high-precision atomic clocks, it has been discovered that mainly due to the cycles of the tides, each cycle of days lasts 1.7 milliseconds longer. Said like that, it sounds small. But if we travel to the time when the dinosaurs ruled the Earth, we would discover that the days lasted 23 hours. This increase in the length of days is accelerating more and more. That is, each century the days last a little longer than before. Fortunately, this slippage is corrected by leap seconds. These are seconds that are added to the universal time periodically, and when necessary, when the clocks that control the world time are behind compared to the mean solar time. This graph, for example, shows some of the seconds that have been added in recent years. As you can see, approximately when the delay is close to 0.7 seconds, 1 second is added to the coordinated universal time. The increases represent the seconds added, and the decreases the delay that accumulates over the years. Until another second is added again, the last day on which a second was added was December 31st, 2016, at 23:59 and 60. Yes, you heard right, 60 seconds. Only on these days, when seconds are added, there are minutes that last 61 seconds. In most countries of the world, people born on February 29th celebrate their birthdays in non-leap years the day before, on the 28th. In fact, the famous social network Facebook publishes their birthday on the 28th. As for families, the Henriksen family from Andenes, Norway, holds the world record for birthdays on leap days. 3 of their children were born on February 29th. And if that were not enough of a coincidence, it is also amazing that this town, located in the north of the Scandinavian peninsula, has only approximately 2,600 inhabitants. Who would have thought that such a small town could achieve this curious record? And speaking of February 29th, let's talk about a little special one. Specifically on February 29th, 1504, that day a lunar eclipse was scheduled for the night. That same day, the explorer Christopher Columbus was stranded on what is now called the island of Jamaica. The natives had rebelled against him and his crew and refused to continue exchanging food with them because they considered that the treatment was unfair. They hadn't eaten or drunk for days. Reinforcements hadn't arrived and death was getting closer. But Columbus had a great idea. Knowing that there was going to be a lunar eclipse that same night, he told the natives that if they did not give him the supplies, their god would punish them by making the moon disappear forever. By nightfall, hundreds of natives gathered. When the moon rose, it was already partially obscured and panic spread among the natives. They begged Christopher Columbus to bring it back, and he asked in exchange to hand him the supplies. And when the moon appeared again, it was his salvation. It's evident that the natives had already seen many lunar eclipses before, but what must have really surprised and scared them was the fact that it happened just when Columbus said. They must have thought it was magic. But no, it was simply science. Thank you very much for watching the video, and goodbye.